On the occasion of the Diamond Jubilee of the National Education Society, this commemoration was compiled to perpetuate events which highlight the 60 years of the institutions run by the Society. The National Education Society started with a galaxy of patrons and personalities: Khan Bahadur Hidayatullah, Captain P.D. Gokhale, the Right Honourable Mr. R.G. Bhausahib Soman, the Right Honourable K.S. Bhausahib Firodia, Mr. M.J. Vakil, Sardar Jagannath Maharaj Pandit, Dr. E.H. Koyaji, Sir Fazal Rahimtullah, and Dr. Mrs. E.N. Nagarwala. We pray for the repose of these souls on the occasion of this Diamond Jubilee. The life and force of the Society has been the late Principal N.D. Nagarwala and the late Dr. Mrs. E.N. Nagarwala, along with their trusted lieutenants Mr. N.K. Mahajan, who to this day is carrying on their principles. In the 6 decades, at least 3 generations of students have been molded by them. Initially started as the National Military School, the name was changed to the National Model School, and on the demise of the late Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala, the present name was adopted. Since 1986, the institutions run by the Society are known as the Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala Primary and Secondary Schools, apart from the day school. Started principally as a boarding school with the primary and secondary sections, the institution extended into a primary day school under the aegis of Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala. With the growing need of good quality education for day scholars and bowing to parental demand, a secondary school was started under the able command of Mrs. Perrin K. Dalal. Over the years, the working has been strictly on the principle of without fear or favour, which has at times delayed growth, but the adherence to morality is satisfying in times and in an atmosphere where moral values are at a premium. The Society has striven to maintain an economic education so that the fees are the lowest possible in the prevalent conditions. Principal Nagarwala's principles in the working of the institutions are respected, and the Society prays to the Almighty to give it strength to continue on those very principles. The National Military School was started on the 18th of June 1947 in a bungalow at No. 4 Boat Club Road and was later shifted to the barracks at Deccan College in May 1952 as the rented bungalow had to be given up. The number of boys started increasing, and with the good offices of Mr. Abdullah Pir Muhammad, attorney of His Highness the Aga Khan, and the kind consent of His Highness, it was shifted to the Aga Khan Palace. The school existed in the palace until the 15th of August 1972, when the Society handed over the Aga Khan Palace to the Gandhi Smarak Nidhi and fully shifted its own premises at No. 3 Nagar Road, adjacent to Ardeshir House. Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala had envisaged a school complex of 2 circular buildings of the ground and 1 upper floor each, which would be in the apex of the triangle. However, during her lifetime, she could not see the completion of this dream project because the priorities of a junior school dormitory and the senior school dormitory precluded the building of either the second circular building or the assembly hall. The Society has always had the advantage of a dedicated sportsman in Principal N.D. Nagarwala, who had envisaged playing fields and tracks comprising 22 acres. He has usefully utilized various portions of the present estate and converted groves of barbul into useful playing fields. Thus, the boarding school building is located in a compact estate with all functional buildings surrounded by play fields. Hence, sports has always been at the forefront in the school. The school also groomed its pupils in various personality development activities like camping, scouting, vipassana, and the like to make their personality multifaceted. It was also decided by the society to extend a freeship for 11 years to an orphaned child of the members of the armed forces of the country. 1971-72 saw the Silver Jubilee of the National Education Society, and the celebrations commenced on the 9th of February 1972. 1977 saw 30 years of the functioning of the society completed. This was celebrated by a get-together of past students, and members of the teaching staff were felicitated. The students continued to respond with 100% results at the SSC examination. The year 1979 will go down in the annals of the society. It was the year when the kitchen staff and other staff doing menial work duly formed a union and struck work shortly before the SSC examination. However, the children showed their might, and they got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They swept the dormitories, they cleaned the toilets, they came to the mess room and washed and cleaned the night utensils. By 8 o'clock in the morning, breakfast was made ready, and subsequently lunch and dinner too. Since this could not go on for long, and as the SSC exams were postponed, Mr. Nagarwala got permission from the education officer, Mr. Pandey, to close the school earlier than the stipulated time and sent all the children home. But the 9th standard boys and girls refused to go and stayed back to help with the chores of cooking, cleaning, etc., so that the standard 10 could study and give their examinations undisturbed and in peace. The standard 10 students responded by once again giving the school a 100% result. In 1982, the senior dormitory was completed. 1984 saw the departure of Mr. K.R. Kakasaheb Garud, a founder member of the society. In his vacancy, Mr. S.J. Chiniwala was appointed. 1985 saw the passing away of another founder member of the society, Dr. P.D. Gokhale. The society suffered a severe setback in the passing away of Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala. In the two vacancies, Mrs. P.K. Dalal and Mr. J.R. Musa were inducted. It was decided that the greatest compliment that one could pay to Mrs. Nagarwala was to rename the school after her. 1986 saw the secondary school building completed and construction of the last building on the campus, the dining-cum-assembly hall, commenced. The students continued their 100% performance for the 23rd year running. The last 2 decades up to the Diamond Jubilee year saw a different facet of the society. Principally formed for educating boarders, the society through the late Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala had started a primary school for day scholars. The enthusiasm of Mrs. P.K. Dalal, coupled with parental demand, persuaded the society to extend the primary to a full-fledged secondary school. An extension to the building was constructed in 2004. In 1998, we lost the pillar of the school. in the passing away of Principal N.D. Nagarwala. This is where it all began. The road. The house where he was born and brought up.
मी कुठलंही तत्वज्ञान पाळत नाही, मी कोणालाही फॉलो करत नाही, पण एक माझा धर्म असा आहे की कोणालाही जर मदत हवी असली तर त्याला मदत करावी. मी जिथपर्यंत जिवंत आहे तिथपर्यंत शाळेत काम करेन. आणखीन पहिलं ध्येय माझं हे आहे की देशभक्त मंडळी तयार करायची. दुसरं म्हणजे की ज्याला आपण ऑनेस्टी म्हणतो अलीकडे आणि जी गेलेली आहे त्याबद्दल माझा जास्त भर असतो. चंदू, माझं शिक्षण मराठीतनं झालंय. अहमदनगरच्या शेजारी एक लहानसं खेड आहे भिंगार म्हणून, आणखी तिथे कॅन्टोन्मेंट शाळा होती, तिथे माझं मराठीतनं शिक्षण झालंय. आणखीन आमच्या वेळेस मराठी 4थीपर्यंत शिक्षण झाल्याशिवाय इंग्लिश शाळेत ॲडमिशन मिळत नव्हतं. आणखीन दुसरं म्हणजे सहवास, की माझे जे सगळे स्नेही होते ते सगळे म्हणजे पटवर्धन, रानडे, गोखले ही सगळी मंडळी. तेव्हा त्यांच्याबरोबर राहून पुष्कळसं मराठी बोलायचं शिकलो मी.
Mr. N.K. Mahajan took over the mantle of principal and after a couple of years passed on the chair to his student Jamshed R. Musa to groom him to take over his responsibilities. Jamshed Musa came to the school as a student. After his graduation, he worked with us as a teacher and housemaster and eventually as the principal, a post he held until his sudden and untimely demise on the 29th of July 2006. It also saw the tragic loss of Mr. V.L. Sathe, Mr. J.B. Maitre, Mrs. Gajjar, Mrs. Toscano, apart from our patron Dr. Mrs. Koyaji and trustee Mr. S.J. Chiniwala. It was in the 70s that Mr. Vishnu Bhagwat felt the need of the Past Students Association, and he was the guiding force for bringing together the past students of the school. The association was rejuvenated under the untiring efforts of President Jamshed Musa and erstwhile Secretary Dr. Mrs. Nirmala Ganla. Today, the Past Students Association boasts of over 700 members and plays a modest role towards the school and the past students. Today, the Dr. Mrs. Erin N. Nagarwala School has more than 500 students in the boarding school, and they are being groomed in every facet for their future career. The history of the school will be incomplete without taking all of you past students for a nostalgic trip to this place, the Hind Veranda. None of us can forget it, and the sound reverberates in our ears even today of the cuts. The school has groomed the students, and its contribution to our country is invaluable. Its products are some of the most decorated officers in the defense and many leading doctors spread all over the country. Today, you may be flying across the globe in planes being piloted by our ex-students. Some of the leading lawyers and those in the judiciary belong to our school. This is apart from innumerable engineers, chartered accountants, industrialists and bureaucrats who have excelled in their respective fields. All the students will stay indebted to our dear Ma, Baap,